Hello, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. We're here to investigate incest and destigmatize childhood sexual crimes. Many people don't want to talk about it. We do. My next guest with me today is Kevin Boyd, and he is the author of Blessings in Freedom, Dispelling the Myth. I am so excited for him to be with us today. I'm excited to hear his story and his journey. And with that, Kevin, I like to always start with what your motivation was to write this book and what your motivation is to be here with us today and share your story.
Hello. First of all, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It's always a pleasure to add value to people's lives and to share my story. It's a story of from tragedy to triumph, to triumph. So I believe that sharing my story can offer people hope because molestation and abuse is something that happens every single day, and it happens across all walks of life. It doesn't matter your religion, it doesn't matter your ethnicity, it doesn't matter your financial status. These things happen in families day after day, and a lot of times it's done in secret, and the victim has no way out, and they don't know how to manage those feelings, after, the violation has taken place. So, I'm here to offer hope that, what happened to you in your past doesn't have to define your present nor your future, because I'm a living proof that you can rise above, traumatic experiences. So it's my honor and my duty to share to help, somebody else just be encouraged that, your life is not over because of trauma.
Right. I love that. And it is true when you know the right thing to do, it's so hard not to share. People always want me to be quiet, Kevin, but I can't because God has been so good and brought me so far. My story is also a story of father-daughter incest. I know that your story is father-son incest, and these things are
Yes.
not talked about. And so with that, if you could just bring us in, you open your book with this profound you come home and you're not feeling well, right? If you could just bring us into the
Yes.
story so people understand, and then share as much of your story as you're comfortable with.
Okay. Sure. And you can stop me at any time,
Okay.
interject. I don't want to
Okay.
be like I'm rambling on. Okay. So yes, it all started when I was 5 years old. Let me give you a little bit of my family background. So I grew up in a small family in Los Angeles, mother, father, and one brother. My brother's 2 years older. We grew up in a Christian home. My mother was a faithful Christian and a school teacher, elementary school. So we went to church faithfully every Sunday, come rain, come shine. It wasn't an option. We were just raised that way. And I thank God for that foundation. But the flip side of that, my father was a complete opposite. He wasn't in the church. He was an alcoholic. He worked in a, what do you call it? He worked in a nightclub, so he was a bartender. So
Okay.
he was home during the day, and my mother was home, of course, at night after school and things. But I didn't really have much of a relationship with my father, at least not the typical, go outside and toss the football. I didn't have any of those experiences. My father wasn't really an emotional or nurturing type of man. And so this particular day in elementary school, I remember like yesterday, I had a fever, and the fever was so extreme, I knew they were going to send me home. But I also knew my mother was at work at her classroom. So I said, well, mom can't get me. I'm going to have to go. My dad's going to have to come get me. Now, at 5 years old, I was excited because remember, I didn't spend a lot of time with my father. I really was what they call a mama's boy. And so this particular day in my 5-year-old brain, I was excited because I said, I get to spend a day with my dad.
Right. It's understandable.
So he got me home, and the fever was so extreme that he had to take my clothes off. I mean, I was burning up. I remember it like it was yesterday. So crazy. I remember that.
Mhm.
And I was, so he removed my clothes, right? And so he said, lay on top of me. At 5 years old, I knew something wasn't right about that. I didn't have the words to put it in,
Mhm.
but in my mind, I said, I don't think I'm supposed to be laying on top of my dad uh, with no clothes on. But I wanted the attention, the just the fact that I was spending time with my dad. I dismissed it as far as it being right or wrong. I didn't even dwell on that part. I was more
Right.
excited that I was having interaction of any kind with my father.
Right. And
And what people don't
yeah, he's your rule
no, go
maker,
ahead.
right? No,
Yeah,
he's
and the
your rule
thing is,
maker.
and yes, and the thing is, people don't understand that a lot of times predators they do what's called a grooming
Mhm.
process. So that particular day, nothing happened other than the inappropriate laying on top of my father knew, but it
Right.
didn't go any further than that. That was just to get me comfortable with going the wrong way. And so over a period of time is when things begin to progress, because there were many times when I would be at home with my father, because remember, my mother's an elementary school teacher. She
Mhm.
drove, I mean, she worked hours away, so by the time I got home from school, of course, she still wasn't home. So there was that span of time before she got home that I was home from school, because school was 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away. So
Mhm.
within that time, he was able to do what he did. And so it progressed, it progressed, it progressed. I don't want to be graphic, but all the things that you could imagine, oral, you know,
Mhm.
um, uh, we'll just stop there.
It's
But
right.
yeah,
But
so
this goes
so
on
it
till your teen years.
yes. So it went on through my teen years, and one of the things that kept it going so, I want to say, steadily, is because he told me if I ever told anybody, he would kill me.
Mm.
Because people always say, well, when you were a teenager, you should have been able to fend him off. That's
Mhm.
easy for you to say,
Yeah.
but you have to understand my mind. It
Right.
wasn't just sexual. My mind was caught up in this stuff. My
Right.
identity was caught up in this stuff. And then you have to understand the fear. He said he would kill me. So
Right.
you think I'm going to tell somebody what he's doing and he threatened to kill me?
Right. Well,
I'm
and
not telling anybody nothing.
exactly. Kevin, incest is a crime. This is not a sexual fantasy for a child in any way. It's a crime. And I had somebody say to me, I thought it was really cool. Tarsha said, if your father can do that to you, imagine what else he can do to you. And so these are crimes that are against our young, little, tiny bodies. And that people that try to change that have never lived in that world. Because, like you said, really, it all starts with fear. It doesn't start because we don't have a choice in the matter, right? They come to us. They're our fathers. We want to love them. It's a God-given right for us to have love with our parents. We don't know anything different, but we also know that it doesn't feel right, that we're terrified of it. We don't want anybody
Something
else to
about it.
find out. Right. The secret is between us. So go ahead and keep going. I
Yeah, the
100%
secret. Oh
understand.
my
Right.
goodness.
Right.
Yes,
You can't tell that secret.
the secret and the guilt from the secret. Because see,
Yes.
then, I've always been a thinker, even as a kid. So I would
Mhm.
always contemplate, okay, if I told, what would be the repercussions?
Right.
Would he really beat me up like he said he would? Or would my mother believe me? Would they possibly get a divorce? Because something I did to break the family up. So,
Right.
there was all these questions. So I was like, I don't, I'm just stuck. I'm just stuck
Well,
in this.
and that makes me think, Kevin, I know that you were very close with your mother, but in these years, it's very interesting to me that moms are somewhere absent around all this abuse. Can you talk to me a little bit about what do you
Yeah.
think made her absent, or that you couldn't go to her and disclose?
Yeah. So my father in general, just his character, he was not a great role model for anything. He wasn't
Mhm.
the best husband. Remember he was a bartender. So he encountered several hoochie women. I'm just gonna call it what it is. He
Mhm.
encountered several floozy women, so he always had some lady chasing after him, and they're doing their stuff. But the thing was he was at